Why parents should not hit or spank their children. When I was a child, the only method of correction that I ever got acquainted with was hitting and spanking. This was because my father was taught this method of correction by his own father when he was a child. And also because at that time, when I was growing up, my father was an alcoholic. So that was the only thing that he knew how to do best to correct my behavior when I was growing up. According to the American Psychological Association, children who were physically punished were more likely to endorse hitting as means of resolving their conflicts with peers and siblings. Parents who had experienced frequent physical punishment during their own childhood were more likely to believe it was acceptable, and were more likely also to teach that to their own children. Before understanding the meaning of being a parent, I constantly saw parents hit or spank their own children, and I thought it was a normal form of correction just because it was used with me when I was growing up. That same method was used with me. Why parents should not hit or spank their children, and what are some of the main negative effects or outcomes? My experience with physical abuse as a child has been altering and somewhat traumatic, to the point that I can relate and know what it is to be submitted to that form of correction without giving the chance or opportunity to comply within the normalcy of communication. Today, I will be sharing with you why parents should not hit and spank their children, and what are some of those main negative effects. I will also be sharing with you what this hitting and spanking does to a child when used as the main channel of correcting behavior, as well as some of those potential effects, which leads us to child behavior and the aggressiveness that a child can build when using hitting and spanking. Many parents want to put an end to child behavior in the moment. They see it as a form of correction that will work short term. But in reality, according to a 2002 meta-analysis of 27 studies across the world, countries, and ages, a child who is spanked regularly is more likely to be aggressive, both as a child and as an adult, which leads us to the impact that aggression can cause and how it is connected to child skills. Studies dating back to the 1960s suggest a relationship between corporal punishment and decreased cognitive ability in early childhood. Recent research has added to that as well. A more recent study that was conducted by the National Library of Medicine in 2011 found that children who were spanked are at a higher risk of academic failure. Using physical enforcement or hitting or spanking creates evident changes in child behavior and child skills, which are also essentially connected to mental health issues and the lack of establishing positive relationships. Within mental health issues, the two most common disorders are anxiety and depression. According to research and professional expertise within parents, a commonly known website, spanking or hitting children as a mean of punishment may increase the risk of mental health disorders later in life. A new study found that among adults, 2 to 7% of cases of mental health disorders are related to physical abuse. which also is connected to poor parent-child relationship. Parents who use spanking are less likely to have a good quality relationship with their own child. Children might be in fear of parents, and they won't open up in an effort to avoid any physical punishment. Mental health issues and broken parent-child engagement are consequences that are associated with hitting and spanking that can lead a child to think that violence is acceptable and develop an ongoing pattern of bullying others around them. Within bullying, a child might think that hitting is acceptable. According to Dr. Cummings of Psychology Today, when a parent tries to get a child to behave by hitting them, that parent is telling the child that hitting people and picking on people who are smaller than they are is okay and is acceptable, which leads to later damages or consequences that can be taken into adulthood, like violence within adulthood. According to Elizabeth T. Gershoff of the National Library of Medicine, children who are spanked are more likely to attribute hostile intentions to others and behave violently within society, and are more likely to develop and get involved in criminal activity in their adult stage. The negative impact in a child's life is immense, and there is no doubt that there are patterns and effects, like viewing ongoing violence as something normal that will be inherited into adulthood for the rest of their life. Today we dove into why parents should not hit or spank their children, and the main negative effects or outcomes, which are child behavior, mental health issues, and bullying. Let us be mindful that children are the future of this world, and that as parents, we need to think twice before we recur to such methods that incur hitting or spanking. There are other ways in which we can correct our children's behavior. As we are mindful of how to educate our children and plant hope, love, charity, and knowledge in them, they will not see themselves as failures or feel themselves as failure when they reach their adult stage. But the contrary, they will strive in life. Thank you.